So, Kyle, since you've been in the insurance industry, you've had some success with it. You don't really talk a whole lot about it, but for some of the younger listeners out there, like say, because let's face it, I mean, I know some people want to listen to this and they're going to say, Thomas, you sound kind of offending, but my point is that as a man, you have to have ambition in this world, and if you have a seed and they're barely getting what they need, and you making $10 an hour, homie, they ain't gonna cut it.
Right.
And as men, we gotta call each other out on something like that. Like, cause let's just keep it real. You cannot raise a child effectively making $10 an hour.
Let me say something else. Check this out. There's an article I posted on my Facebook page where they said the Nielsen report saying that black success in this country is being hidden. There's more people become over the last few years. There's a lot of black people becoming millionaires. Black middle class is actually growing, and all these problems and stuff like that. They said all these things about we hear in the media about mass incarceration. It's just not true. So therefore, there's a lot of people that use the problems in our community as an excuse not to do anything. You know what I'm saying? Continuous cycle of excuse me, my car folks in my car. Continuous cycle of mediocrity and ignorance. And so, therefore, like I said, I know for a fact this Uber thing has had, because on my town right here, my area is a middle-class city, and I say about a good third of the Uber drivers are black. They're out there pulling, if you go out there in my area where it's not even that busy, if you can make an extra $500 a week, you think about that. That's $2,000 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're making $2,000 a month, right, an extra $2,000 a month or $500 a week, and you got another gig and everything on top of that, you're basically doubling, making a third more, or even sometimes doubling your annual income. In other words, so basically, what we're saying is you have to think outside the box. The old job that you think that's going to come back, with all the days we had jobs and those days are gone. Them days of single income, one job, and retiring for life is gone. And we have to be more innovative. Our people traditionally were always like that. We were always the ones that moved around to different places to find opportunity and stuff like that. But like I said, we got comfortable. The civil rights era made us comfortable. We thought that the jobs that came out of the 60s and everything that was going to last forever. And you saw that, the Republicans scale back. They saw all these black people, and they created a category called minorities. So in other words, basically, they never wanted us to have real black empowerment. They said minorities. Minorities included women, white handicaps, Asians, everybody off the boat. That's to make sure that anytime you're going to diversify America, that large numbers of black males are not going to benefit. And this is the fallout of what we're dealing with right now. In spite of all that, we still got people succeeding.
There's something, people may or may not be familiar with Arthur Ashe. Arthur Ashe was a black man of color who played in tennis at the highest levels. And, some people, don't like to hear about him because they may see him as like a Bryant Gumbel or someone who they consider so out because, for whatever reason, it's silly. But he died prematurely because of his illness. And there's some interesting things that he said, and they actually apply here. I mean, it says, you got to get to the stage in life where going for it is more important than winning or losing. Or one of those things.
You got to say that again?
You've got to get to the stage in life where you've got to get to the stage in life where going for it is more important than winning or losing.
Right.
Or, this is another one that he said that is really fitting. Racism is not an excuse to not do the best you can.
Right.
Like, so in other words, people that say, oh, it's just, the system of white supremacy. Yeah, but at the end of the day, are you going to just, fold yourself up and decide, well, I'm not even going to try because white supremacy's got their foot on my neck. So,
that's exactly what they try to do. White supremacy is the scapegoat for black people who don't want to do anything with them. Even though the BAIO is a nationalist organization, they're not even saying everybody has to support mission or join us. But the bottom line, the fact that you might know that there are people interested in nation building and building in Africa, opening business in Africa, stuff like that, why would you even be opposed to that? And at the same time, you complain about white supremacy. Couldn't that better our lot? So it just tells me that a lot of people are still enslaved. They just believe no matter what they do, they're going to be enslaved, and white supremacy is this. So that's the excuse to sit around and not only that, not do anything, but to mock and ridicule black people and minimalize and just be dismissive of black people who are making it. You know, I remember there was a time when I was in this one so-called black intellectual group, right? And they basically had, they were talking about illegal Dangote. And they were like, see, the white man got him as a puppet while they're stealing Nigeria. Nah, and I ripped it a piece. I said, do you understand he's an industrialist? He makes all his money in Africa. And you probably know what an industrialist is. After schooling these guys about what he does and what he's building around Africa and stuff like that, they kicked me out of the group because I didn't go along with their narrative that any time you see a black man is rich is because of white supremacy, conspiracy, and all kind of nonsense. These type of losers, Negroes, are the people that sit around in their apartment, in their virtual apartment, and they got access to a computer. Now all their pain and anger is unleashed upon the world. But you got to understand who these losers are who talk against development, who talk against nation building, who talk about economic progress, who talk against education, who talk against higher learning and STEM fields and all stuff like that. These are people who will never have anything, never do anything, and they basically know one thing about black people. We are insecure and apprehensive about progress and success. We have survivor's guilt, and they play on that. So, Brother Thomas, now would you be the type of brother that appease these brothers and go out there on the street and look funny and talk about you eat one meal a week and show up with the same clothes to fit in with these brothers, that sort of shit? Would you do that, Brother Thomas?
Man. You said a mouthful, man. I mean, let's talk one thing at a time now. My thing is, for me, and I like what that Arthur Ashe Cole had to say about making the attempt, right? Or something better he said was success is not a destination, it's a journey. Because everyone can't be number one. So it's more important about what you pick up along the way, the lessons you learn, the relationships that you form. Everyone's so caught up in being number one, and that's not really what it's about. As long as you can, find your own hero's journey, right? And there's a book that I suggest that I say for every child, specifically Black or African American male child, there's a book called The Alchemist, written by author of Brazilian descent. I can't pronounce his name. It's Coelho, I want to butcher the guy's name. The name of the book is called Alchemist, and it talks about this whole concept of your own personal legend, and that's really what Arthur Ashe is kind of referring to, is that you have to strike out and create your own path. We've been taught not to do that. We've been taught to accept what's given to us, and that's part of what this whole process is about. So, like I said, I apologize if anyone took what I said out of context, but I have to call a spade just because, like I said, you know how hard it is to raise a kid on $10 an hour? I mean, think about that. Let's just do the math. $10 an hour working full time, that's equivalent to, $400 a week, right? 40 hours. That's if you don't work overtime. But if you did work 10 hours overtime, are you really do anything? Because it's an extra, 10 hours a week, so that's, $150 extra a week. So now you have to $550.
And get this, the cost of living has offered quadrupled over the last 15 years. In other words, basically, the wages and everything is stagnant. Nothing is ever going to change because I think the wage. Tell me, am I exaggerating? But I think the wage system is going out. There's got to be a way. I remember when my father worked, right? He had a salary, right? But he also got incentives. Profit sharing and stuff like that. The company he worked for. Those things are all over. The days of the unions, the federal government, Republicans, have busted up the unions to the point where they basically should move factories overseas, and they're opening factories, paying people a base $15 an hour with no extra benefits, no anything. So those days are over. So those days of black people looking for a retirement plan, cradle to the grave entitlement from their job and everything, those days are over. And they're never coming back, because America, unlike what people say, that recession in the 90s, the late 80s and the early 90s and whatnot, is still with us to this day. They say America recovered. No, it recovered only in Wall Street. The lagging indicator of jobs and manufacturing never came back. The growth of cities like Detroit and the Midwest and everything like that, the industrial belt, never recovered. The recovery was the speculation in the bubble on Wall Street. Yeah, Wall Street is two different things. And so people say, the economy's doing good. The economy's doing good for investors, but for the working class, and black people have to decide. Are we going to make the transition to the investment class, ownership class, which is going to put us on a geopolitical level globally? We have to invest in Africa. It's not some fancy thing anymore. We have to invest in Asia and all these other countries. We have to become a global people. And I hope Brother Earl can do his show and tell us more about what he's doing. Bottom line is we have to be global, and the bottom line is Pan-Africanism is not just something we're talking about. This is our future. So 30 years from now, the jobs are never going to come back. And now that the violence you see in the streets right now, and because you got so many people out of work and so many people just angry, and you got jobs moving into the white areas and black people moving to the white areas, and you got more and more people being abandoned in the inner cities, and you got gentrification, whites moving in the cities. And the bottom line is it's going to get worse before it ever gets better. And I just think they've written Black America off. I think even the black leadership, am I wrong or right, has written Black America off. And, there's nothing going to come with it. How can you justify even coming to black people and asking to vote for Hillary Clinton when Barack Obama said he did all he could? And we see now it's not even him. It's the fact that his system does not even purport to do anything for the inner city and the urban poor. So how can Hillary do anything when you have Congress and give her? In other words, basically, we're in a political quagmire in this country. Politics has failed us. So the only solution is what the Black African Infrastructure Organization is talking about. That's the only future. And if we were brave enough and man enough, if people start manning up and joining us in droves, we can accomplish this. But we're going to sit back like cowards and do like an ostrich. You know what an ostrich does when he sees a lion coming? He doesn't run. He puts his head, digs a hole, sticks his head in. Hopefully, him not seeing, and he thinks the lion's going to go away. No, it doesn't. The lion's still coming, whether he can see it or not. And that's the black man in America. He sticks his head in the sand and hopes the problems will go away. That's what we're doing.
Well, and furthermore, it's a situation where we're in a state of emergency. When you look at every measure, in many cases, you can make the case we've gone backwards in a lot of cases. We in terms of our ownership stake in the United States, it's deteriorated to almost nothing. You look at the respect. Did we make up? I just want to make sure we understand something. So we make up on some estimates anywhere from 12 to 14% of the population, and as a result, So as a result, you would think that if there was any quote unquote economic justice, which there isn't, but if there was, we would make up a significant portion of the economy, right? But we don't. So we're one of the largest consumer groups, yet we don't know how to consume, and you exacerbate that with the fact that you look at the S&P 500, which is some of the largest firms from the respective industries across the United States that I know of. There's not one I'm going to go out on a limb, black-owned, started where the board is black, the owner or the founder is black, that is on the S&P 500.
Right. Neither New York Stock Exchange nor the NASDAQ,
Yeah. I mean, one of the few black owned bank that was in New York City was I think it got delisted. It got delisted from the stock. Yeah, it got delisted from the stock exchange. So
that's because we try to build. You cannot build an economy without a social and cultural context. We don't control. You said we're going to help the inner city. You don't control the inner city. Wells Fargo controls the inner city banking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Bank of America's there. You think they're going to be nice to say, you know something, the inner city belongs to you. We're going to let you control all the black deposits and everything like that. We're going to let you just have that. Go right ahead, City, Community Harlem Bank, whatever. You go right ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You can go ahead and have that. We're not going to put our banks in Harlem and everything like that. We're not going to do that. We're going to basically let you have that. No, it don't work like that. It comes to business is business. And they'll move right into a black area and suck every dime out if they can. You know, they'll give black people charge back to higher interest rates for loans. They're going to do it. And so therefore, like I said, well, what's the solution? Well, the whole thing is this. Either if you cannot go halfway. No, what I believe is black people have to really look at themselves in America. Now, there's some black people, like I said earlier, are doing well. Okay, fine, that's good. But these people feel frustrated because they can't, they don't have any power to make a change in black America. That's because you don't have a nation. You know, there's nothing you can do until you have a government and you have laws and power over your own reality. You know, and then when you have power over your reality, you have power over your social context. You control your culture. You control who you are. You control your economy. You control your political reality. If you don't have that, then you basically can't say, I want to have one part of the pie. How can you have economics without social cohesion, without people working together and believing they are people? People have to be together before you say, I'm going to control the black. Black is not just everybody who lives in the inner city who's poor. As soon as those people get money, what do? They move out to the suburbs. I see it every day. There are more and more black people. As soon as they get that raise on their job, they're hiking out of the inner city and coming out to the suburbs. You know? So where's your power base? Mr. Let's build the community. Mr. Let's recycle the black dollars. You know? You black collar coon Negroes got to stop, man, you know? It's just ridiculous.
That's an interesting discussion that, you know, to have in terms of, you know, what it really means and the context of the black dollar. Like when people talk about having these black enclaves and communities, stuff like that, the challenge is that there's a lot of areas, you know, outside of the law that's possible, you don't have to pop up. And even more so with that, when you start talking the black dollar, right? The whole concept, you know, us being us, it's not realistic. Okay? You have to sit down. What is realistic is a strong base of people. It looks like, well, let's not get too like they don't say the $80. You know, they want all dollars, right? They want every dollar that's to put down, right?
What's that?
Higher, and then get everyone else to buy from. You know, that's, I mean, as soon as possible, than that, because certain things about us that people are outside there that all we'll see they have and everyone huh? Hello? Hello? Okay, I think we lost Kyla. And what you'll see is you do have quote unquote diversity in who supports that business. But I would venture to say, and this is whether it's something that is on the overt level, right, where it's just they see the business, what it is, and they don't see another face other than blackface, and they say, oh no, because there's certain things that they think is not going to be in place. And that's crazy that people think like that, but it's just reality. So like I said, the only businesses I've seen thus far that get broad appeal, right, are things in the food and maybe certain parts of the entertainment business, because there are, for instance, one or two black-owned clubs that basically are getting patronized. And I'm just talking about on a micro level here in the Charlotte area. So that's so my take on that is we have to just be realistic about that. Now, if you build a business once again that is demographically based and its success plan is based on a trend, then in some cases it won't matter. But when you have a business like that, it's very difficult to make it where it's just an all black-owned business. I'll give you a very good example of what I'm talking about, okay? So there's a young man, I won't say his name, but he lives here in the area where I live, probably about 15 minutes away. We actually attended the same school, but he was 4 years ahead of me, okay? Now, this is a very unique situation because he's become very well off, I would say affluent as a result, because he lives in a very nice home. To put it in context, he lives in a community where pro athletes live at, and he's in the healthcare field. The reason it's important is because there's a trend that's becoming prevalent in healthcare where people are now electing to be taken care of at home because of the cost saving, okay? So he owns a home healthcare agency where he employs nurses. In fact, he owns one of the largest home healthcare agencies in North Carolina and employs, I believe he said, the second or third highest amount of nurses. Now, we all know that in healthcare specifically, there are a lot of black women who are nurses. Not as many black men, but a lot of black women who are nurses. And that's for several different reasons. There's more money made available to him, but be that as it may, he didn't have a healthcare background. Neither did his wife. They got into this business because they saw that trend emerging, and now, he makes very, very significant income. And when I say very significant, if the median income in the United States is, let's say, $50,000 a year, he's probably making 6 times that amount. I mean, because based on his house and my background being a loan officer, I know basically how much those houses run, and I know the kind of income he needed to be able to show between him and his wife in order to afford it. So I know he's doing fairly well. And it's one of those things where he took advantage of an opportunity that was in front of him. He looked at the trend and said, you know what, I want to get in this business because there's a need for the business. And he knows that fact that the government is helping to fund the business on top of it all. So he has customers because he's using government dollars between Medicare and Medicaid to help fund this business. So that's just one example of how understanding a trend, taking advantage of it, and executing on your plan. And once again, he got licensed, by way of getting his business incorporated, going through the proper channels to get the nurses and the personnel that work for him, but he's not a nurse, neither is his wife, but they're making tons of money hand over fist. Kyla, are you still there? Kyla, I believe we have a caller. Last 4 digits, 0581.
Hey, what's going on, Brother Thomas? This is Earl. I was calling in trying to listen. I think you guys were kind of breaking up.
Earl?
All right.
Yeah, I think Colin texted me. Colin texted me, said that there was some sound quality issues. So is it my phone that's breaking up?
I don't know. When I called in, it's clear as a bell now. So I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just internet.
Okay, awesome. So how you been doing?
Oh man, I'm doing wonderful, man. I was just listening to you guys. I was just getting off work, so I was kind of calling in, trying to listen to you guys to see what's going on. But I agree with what you're talking about because I'm a nurse right now, so and I had a good friend that was that I worked with. Him and his wife opened up an agency. Of course, I'm in Memphis, so he went the trick route and he started trying to date all the nurses. So he blew up the business, just doing that. But they were making significant income, and both him and his wife were nurses, and they just, they kind of just bootstrapped it, and on the strength of the network that they had of working with a bunch of nurses. So they got a bunch of nurses under them, and what you do is, what he was doing was, they were getting almost, let's say, like the facility was paying them $35 an hour, per nurse that they provided. They were giving the nurse $23, $24 an hour, depending on your specialty, and in Memphis. So it's a thing of you're making almost half of what the nurse makes per nurse, and they had like 40 or 50 nurses out there. So you can imagine it adds up very fast on how much money you make if you have a lot of facilities under you.
Exactly. So now I'm glad that you called in.
He was dealing with LPNs and nurses assistants. He didn't even have RNs. So imagine if you have RNs. He was just dealing with LPNs and nurses assistants. So he was on the low level, and he was still making bank like that.
Exactly. And here's the thing, right? I mean, I can tell you, like, for instance, the first time I heard about this was when I was working as a loan officer. I did a loan for a lady in California. She owned one of these home health care agencies, and her husband was a plumber. So she was actually a CNA. She wasn't even an RN. She was putting people out there on the track for her as a CNA. So it ain't about necessarily having the most education. It's about who got the most hustle. Because she was in her 30s. Her husband was in his 30s. He's blue collar as a plumber, but he's pulling in $90 an hour in California because they were like in L.A. County. So he's pulling in $90 an hour as a plumber. She was making, from her business, she paid herself a salary of $100, but the business had revenues in excess of $800,000 a year, and she retained a lot of her earnings within the company. And that's another topic. We're going to talk about business structures and the different types of business structures, because there's a certain level of ignorance about business and how things really work, and corporate structures and what they do, what they can't do for you, because there's not a panacea, and there's no be-all, end-all. But Earl, now, I believe Kyle was telling us something interesting, that you have something that you've been working on. You don't have to give all the details, but you're working on something where you created a side business for yourself.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm gonna talk about Thursday. Is selling on eBay, and it's funny that you mentioned the business structure, because I had to dial down my business for like the last 3 months and change everything over because of taxes, and had to change some things, and I had to come back and start selling under another business name because, at first, it had like for like the last couple of years, it's been a long time that it's been like a side thing that, I just did for extra money on the side. I sold stuff online, but, like I said, I was going to start ramping it up. And when I ramped it up, you know, it kind of got so high that, you know, I had to change some things around. So I would really probably be really interested in that business structure thing, because it can get kind of hairy when your income goes from, like, what I was usually doing was like $6,000 or $7,000 in sales a month, and that goes to $30,000 to $40,000 in sales a month, and you know that's a significant change. So things, you know, the thing is I was doing mine as, you know, under a sole proprietorship. You know, it was just me doing it, and I was going to get waxed at the end, you know, as far as taxes.
So let's stop right there, because we throw around the term, and I always like to define terms for people. So when Earl talks about sole proprietorship, what that means is that he and his business are inextricably linked, tied at the hip, if you will. Him and the business are the same because he's working under the same tax identification number, which is known as your social, is also tied to that business. So that him and the business are the same entity, which means that any income derived to that business goes on top of any income he has from any W-2 job, as well as any other independent contracting 1099. And so it basically just piles on, and so it puts you into a higher tax bracket. But if you understand business structures, which, you know, we can talk about that in depth on Thursday. If you're going to have a show on Thursday, I can chime in and give some insight on that. But I was going to talk about this next week, since I did this topic is actually supposed to be next week. So I don't know if you saw the title, Get Dignified by Being Certified. You have the right to get licensed. Just talking about, like, certain things like, you know, the insurance industry, how you can get certifications in certain healthcare fields, or, like I said, you're a nurse. Nurses are a very, very high demand occupation because there's a shortage along with doctors and just about anything that has a specific skill set in the medical field. But in the case of, I'll give you a real world example of the difference of how business structure can make a difference on your taxes. So let's say, for instance, in the case of Earl, right? We don't know, you know, what he makes as a nurse, but let's just say the average salary for a registered nurse in the Southeast is probably hovering with 5 years experience right at $32 an hour, right? Which puts you at an annual salary of about $65,000 if you're a W-2 wage earner, okay? Now, with that, because of the way your taxes work, if you have, like, you know, a house and you have, like, you know, things that you could write off, you know, you can either itemize your taxes or you can do your standard deduction. Most people who own a home will use itemization because it gives you better tax benefit, right? So if he has, like, you know, anything that he does at work, like a 401k, 403b, any one of those things that require him to contribute, it helps to reduce his tax liability. So if he's making $65,000% of his income and putting it into his 401k, right, which is responsible, then that would actually reduce his taxable income dramatically, because now you're talking about, instead of being taxed on $65,000, he's being taxed on, you know, $52,000. Okay, and then if you have, like, other benefits like dental, health insurance, that's deducted from your income. And then once you start deducting all those other items, it brings your taxable income down further. So under that scenario, that's great. Now, if he has a sole proprietor business, if he has, you know, cost of goods sold of $50,000, right, and revenues of, you know, $120,000, right, and then all other knickknacks you can deduct, right? So now you got an extra maybe $70,000 to $60,000 that piles on the top of the income he's earned from his job. So that's going to put him in the top tier of tax bracket. But if he realigns his business and he has a subchapter S, which is basically a pass-through entity, and we can talk more about that in detail, but the whole idea of the subchapter S, he gets a tax identification number, which a lot of this stuff amazingly easy, because you can get a tax ID number within 20 minutes from the IRS. So a lot of people don't even know that. You can go online and get a tax ID number, or you can just call and get one, right? And then there's companies to help you form the organization. If you just want a bare bones just formation of a company without like intricate details on bylaws and stuff, you can go to registeragent.com, and registeragent.com actually will do the filing for you. They'll tell you what the fees are. They charge you very minimal fees. And in most states, you can get a corporation form for under $300-400. In some states, it's as low as $150, and then the extra $99 or $120 in fees, right? So now once you've done that, you take your corporate structure, and now you can treat yourself as an employee of that corporation. Now, because it's a corporation, the income that you derive from your sales of your goods, you may decide to pay yourself a salary. A salary is actually tax deductible of the corporation, right? Now, depending upon, how you do it, there's certain ways you can reduce your taxable income, because now that you own a corporation, you can start your own 401k. You actually can put the maximum that you can put in, I think this year is either $17,500 or $18,000. So let's say, for instance, you decide to split it equally. Let's say you took, instead of taking 20% of your income, right, from your job, and, instead of putting in, $13,000, let's say you put in, 10 or 15%, and then you take and you come up with a salary that is, say, a little bit less that once you pay it yourself, you get paid at work. So let's say, for instance, you pay a salary to yourself from your subchapter S corporation. Let's call it $40,000. Remember, it's your company, so you can call your own shots on what you pay yourself. So as a W-2 employee of your company, you say you want to pay yourself $30,000, right? So guess what? You can determine what level that you decide you're going to take money and put into your own private 401k. So if you tell yourself you're going to pay yourself $30,000, right, as an employee of your own company, let's say you decide you want to put in 25%. So now, imagine you put in 30% of that $30,000. That reduces your income as an employee of your company down to $21,000. And then if you have any other benefits, any other costs, anything like that, you can help reduce that down even further. And then there's the income that's retained within the corporation, because you can actually retain earnings within your company. So, because it's a pass-through entity, right, as a subchapter S, you can retain the additional money that you've made inside the company. And you don't have to deal with the double taxation issue. So the difference between a subchapter S and a subchapter or a C corporation, you have double taxation, whereas you only have taxation one time through subchapter S. You end up paying taxes twice as a C corporation. And so by structuring it the right way, you're able to save money on your taxes, because you can create your own benefit plan. You can, there's certain expenses that that you have that are unique to the business, right, that you can write off, because the business is a corporate fiction. That's a very important term. Corporate fiction means is that it's some bullshit on paper that basically gives you benefits. In street terms, but corporate fiction just really means that, for legal purposes, it's a separate entity from you as an individual. And it gives you some shielding, depending upon the nature of the business that you're in. People are litigious, and if you structure it the right way, it gives you a veil. But there's really good attorneys and really good forensic accountants. If you form a corporation, you must do everything you can to not commingle funds, meaning that money that you make from your corporation, you should have a clear delineation between you and your company, so someone can't come back and say, well, you see that transfer? That transfer was made from his personal checking account into his company, so therefore him and his company are really one and the same, so we're going to go after your personal assets. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Sense.
So yeah. Now, guys, I just want to make sure everyone understands I'm not an attorney. I dated an attorney, and she actually, specialized in taxation law. She actually has a master's in taxation law. We're on decent terms. I don't call her like that because she actually is fairly busy, but I learned a good bit from her. And oddly enough, I don't know if anyone remembers this lady. There's a lady that was in Atlanta. That she was in that Aaron Russo film about. She's part of that tax honesty movement. I think her name is Sherry Jackson. I actually sat next to her on a plane and talked to her, and unfortunately, and she was a forensic CPA. Unfortunately, she was in that movie, and she talked about show me the law, and they put her in jail. So guys, don't try to be cute. Because I'm telling you, I was sat next to this woman, very captivating, very bright woman, but please don't try to use some of that stuff because the woman literally went, her and several other people went to jail, and in common law they basically make things up as they go along. You can call yourself trying to be a Moor or whatever. I know someone. I'm talking about. I sat next to this woman for 3 hours on a flight. I watched that movie that Aaron Russo did before he died, or some people say he got killed, and that whole tax honesty movement. It sounds good. For real talk, real rap, you will go to jail. For real. Use the tax code appropriately, get a CPA, but you're going to not pay because Wesley Snipes, see what happened to him, right? I'm just saying, putting it out there. So, in the case of what we just talked about, Earl, which we can discuss more in detail on Thursday when he does the show him the different ways that you can get corporations formed. Because some of this stuff, it's just like anything else. You get what you pay for. The more hands-on you want this process to be in regards to forming a corporation and all that good stuff, you're going to end up paying. And there's a couple ways you can go about doing it. There's online. I'm talking about, if you go to Google, you can go out there and there's just reams of just corporate documents that are out there. You can even go down to the level of, there's certain verbiage. Like, for instance, the reason corporate documents are important is because it really details how the business will survive into, perpetuity. Some states don't allow corporations to go into perpetuity, but there's ways around everything. They incorporate in different states and have subsidiaries, whatever. But the bottom line is that, I give you a good example of how, understanding how your corporation is the function and the corporate documents have to lead out. There's a show called The Prophet, and there's a guy named Marcus Lemonis where he's basically the other side of Shark Tank. So Shark Tank shows you the preliminary process of how, venture capital deals work, right, or angel deals work, and then he's the guy that, after they've done all that stuff and they negotiated, he's the back end of the operations of how things actually work in real time, right? Now, one of the deals that he worked on was a deal where it was a husband and wife who had a business, and they had someone who was like, he wasn't necessarily a totally unscrupulous investor, but he put in very little money, but he structured it where he was getting a lot of benefit without putting in a whole lot of time and effort into his business. But there was one detail he overlooked. Inside the corporate documents, it stated that if there's a new investor who comes in that puts in capital, he would have to match the capital to keep his controlling interest because he would be diluted. So what happens is if you have a company, right, and you have a certain value that you assign to that company, or you have stocks, if someone comes in and injects capital into the company, it's basically supply and demand. The more shares you have available, the less valuable each share becomes, right, in proportion, even though the value of the company goes up. The shares that are outstanding become less valuable. So by putting in a ton of money into the company, he diluted the guy out to the point where he was like less than 1% owner and kicked him out the company. So, that type of level of detail you have to have in terms of, what will be in your corporate document. If you decide you're not going to ever have anyone come in and inject new capital and take on investors, then it won't matter. It'll matter for naught. But, you really have to understand what's in those documents when you create them. And so that's where the attorney can help. I mean, so you can go the route of you create the document, and then you can get something, first, because you can get really, really sophisticated and have this big 200-page document, or it can be 10 pages. So there's prepaid legal, which is now Legal Shields. You can actually create the terms inside of your corporate documents, and they'll review 10 pages under your membership with no additional cost. So see, there's different ways, and it's like Meek Mill said, there's levels to this, all right? I don't even like Meek Mills. I'm just using his quote. There's levels to this. You could go hardcore and spend $1,000, couple $1,000, and that's for, a company that's got significant capital, and you would spend that kind of money. But if you're a small company and you just want to get it done, and you can always go back and amend the documents just to get it on the books and get it registered with the Secretary of State, because that's where corporations are filed at, right? I mean, there's a whole bunch of, we talk about UCCs and all that stuff. We're not going to get into all that. But being that Earl called in, some free jewels. You can send my check in the mail. No, I'm just playing. But some free jewels. You still there?
Oh, yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm mute. Okay. So, yeah. So, I mean, I hope that gave you some insight. And like I said, what time are you planning on doing the show on Thursday?
The show is on Thursday. It's going to be 10 Eastern time. 10 Eastern.
Okay. I could be definitely available for that. But yeah, man, it's like I said, it's about handling business. So I mean, potentially, we could. I mean, do you know what the topic of your show is going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be an intro. Really, it's going to be about supplementing your income with eBay and selling online.
Okay, great. And then we'll talk a little bit about structuring your business up front for success, and then that could dovetail into what I'll talk about Monday. Because I try to come up with like somewhat interesting titles, like handling your business. Don't let your business handle you. Get incorporated now. Something like that.
Yeah.
To that effect.
Because I would say that's probably the biggest mistake I made, right? There's some other things I've done online.
But you made an attempt. You made an attempt. That's okay. You made an attempt, and you succeeded. It's just that, you maybe paid a little bit more, but sometimes the best lessons in life are the most expensive lessons.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, so how long have you been a nurse for now?
I've been a nurse probably almost 19 years, I think.
Oh, wow. So you in the game. You married to the game at this point. So
yeah, that's
all right.
Well, actually, it's like one of those things that I was married to it and trying to get a divorce from it now. So
okay,
it's one of those things I kind of want to do my own thing now. So
time
to branch out.
So as a nurse, right? Did you end up doing the 4-year route, or did you do the 2-year route? Did you go become an LPN and then go become an RN? How did you go about becoming a nurse?
I started from EMT school all the way up to I didn't never go get a 4-year though. No, never did that.
Okay.
So started EMT school through the Army, and then went LPN school in the Army, and then on to that.
Okay. So this is very important for people to understand. And here's the thing: nursing is a bona fide profession. It is a profession. So nurses are very integral to the healthcare system because doctors can't do it all by themselves, right? So they have to have people who are there as stewards, because nurses are basically stewards of your health in the healthcare system. Because, I actually had to get hospitalized, and I was hospitalized for almost about 10 days. And, when I was hospitalized, I had a nurse in my room every 2 hours, period. They were it got on my nerves, but, they literally were in there every 2 hours checking on me.
Yeah, most of your contact will be with the nurse. So
yeah.
What it speaks to what you were saying earlier about as far as things to get into, you can actually become an LPN in probably as little as 18 months, maybe less.
Mm-hmm.
And I know when I went to Philadelphia as an LPN to work, I was making $30 an hour. So,
mm-hmm.
This is one of the things that people kind of got to get in their head. And I'll tell anybody I know that there's only certain things that you should go to college for as far as a 4-year degree. If it's not STEM, if it's not accounting, if it's not to eventually go and get an advanced degree, and you really shouldn't be going to get an advanced degree if you're not scholarshiped up. If you're barely making it out of high school and going to school, you shouldn't be going to school to get a psychology degree. And because, first of all, most of those degrees, those jobs were government jobs, and those jobs are not there anymore. So the people who went to get those jobs 40 years ago, went to get those degrees 40 years ago, they had jobs waiting for them, with the state government, city government, federal government. Those jobs just aren't available anymore. So going to get those degrees, you're going to end up working at Walmart or working at a fast food restaurant as a manager or something like that, because you're not going to find a job. Well, I mean, and if you do find a job, they're going to try to pay you $28,000 a year with your degree, or $32,000, especially in Memphis. You're going to make $28,000, $32,000, something like that a year, and nobody cares that you got a degree, really.
And that's, it's funny that you said that, because I've had this discussion with someone. I mean, this person, they're reasonably, they have reasonable average intelligence, and the person they graduated from a school after 4 years, and they worked in Houston, Texas, and they work for the government there, and they barely cracked $21,000 a year. I was like, what? 21? I mean, and this person, and they were like really thinking like, well, you're not getting a 4-year degree, getting a summer job is the way to go. But those jobs, really speaking, don't give you true security, because if there's a budgetary crisis in the state, who do you think they're going to cut? And here's the other thing, with a lot of these degrees, right, like you said, unless you're looking to become like an engineer and then go get your master's degree, or like I said, my ex, she went all the way hardcore. She saw as something was a little bit off with this girl, because she said she knew from the time she was a little girl she wanted to be a tax accountant. Something ain't right with her, right? But the bottom line is, she started as an accounting major, got her Juris Doctorate, got her master's in taxation law, then on top of that went and became a CPA, okay? So she's to the hilt. There's nothing else she could do, right? I mean, but her billable hours, let's not get it twisted, are like $190 an hour, billable. So you can't even talk to her unless you're willing to fork over $200 just for a conversation, right? She'll give you a free conversation. After that, $200 an hour, basically, right? Now, in the case of that, there's a significant payoff. She has a lot of student loan debt, but, because she can charge $190 an hour, it's worth it, right? But in the case of someone who goes to school, and I've seen it, when you talked about, I don't want to laugh, man, but, like, I know people who went to school, because I went to South Carolina State, they went to school and took out $40,000 or $50,000 in student loans, right, to try to live and, have fun. Then they go into the real world and they work. And like I said, I know dudes that they went to school 4 years, graduated, and you working at a fast food joint? And I'm not knocking it. I mean, but what was the purpose of you going to school 4 years to go work at a fast food joint? Now if you're saying you're going to, buy a fast food franchise and you use your business degree to help you run your business, that's different. But, dude, I knew people that they were working at Burger King after they graduated. So they with a Burger King manager is probably bringing in $20,000 a year, 21, and really you're a glorified cashier at that point, right? And it's just insane. And so I don't know if it cuts off automatically or if you can extend the time. But the bottom line is making the most out of your opportunity. Ladies, gentlemen, stop wasting time. Be strategic in your choices. Go into a field that is a necessity that makes society work. And that's really the key. I talked about in the very first show, looking at things from a standpoint of You have things in this country that run based on consumption, right? And we are in a service economy, right? So if that's the case, what services are in need based on the demographics? Because demographics are destiny, right? So what services are in need? And Brother Earl talking about he's in healthcare. Healthcare has outperformed the rest of the economy by over 30% year over year. So there you have it. We're going to talk more about this and other topics. It's going to be on Brother Earl's show on Thursday, and I'm going to have a continuation to that, talking about business structures on Monday. Handling your business, don't let it handle you. Get incorporated ASAP. So thanks for the support, y'all. Once again, Kyla, our prayers go out to you, family, like I said, and thank y'all for tuning in once again for BIO Solution Sessions.
Oh, Lord, hear me. Hey, please inherit me. It's coming.
Last 4 digits 3405. Hello?
Peace.
Yeah, how you doing? Who's this?
Oh, this is the born and Mustafa Allah. I just blogged into the show. I didn't know, but I think y'all just ended, right?
Yeah, I'm still getting used to doing the show. It's been a while, so I'm mad rusty. I didn't know if you could extend it to overtime or how that even worked. So I wasn't sure. I was keeping 1,000. I haven't done a show up until yesterday. This is like my first time on this show in about 5 years. So I didn't know how that overtime thing worked and stuff. So you wanted to chime in on something?
No. I just got into the show. I just called the tail end. I saw how y'all talking about nursing and stuff. But, I'm down here in Huntsville, Alabama, and all that stuff. So
cool. Okay. Like I said,
yeah.
I'm not polished on this yet. I'm trying to get better with it because they done changed a couple of things. But yeah.
This is my first time ever calling into a show. So.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Calling into a show, I guess it gets a bit on air or whatnot, but was just listening because I know College sent me the thing out, but I was out and about. Just got got home not too long ago. So.
Gotcha.
But
we're gonna be doing
that's about it, man. I ain't really got nothing to build on. I don't even know what everything we was talking about exactly. So.
Well, the topic of the show was get dignified by being certified. You have the right to get licensed. So I just was talking about opportunities to, increase your income, get into a professional field, different ways that you can go about doing that, and then have Brother Earl call and give us some insight. We're going to be doing, Earl's going to be doing a show on Thursday, talking about his business on eBay, and then from there we're going to dovetail into how to structure your business up front, success. And I'm going to cap it off on Monday, talking about handling your business. Don't let your business handle you. Get incorporated now, ASAP. And that's it, man.
Oh, okay. Because I know y'all just had a show yesterday. Everybody, I don't know. I've been following Kyla and Mr. Wood and everybody for a while, but I see the show's like happening more and more rapid, so I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm kind of like so. I tell people Kyla and Holup, they're more like Dame Dash and Jay-Z. I'm like Kareem Diggs. I stay in the back. I stay in the background, But I talked about this whole solution sessions thing because, like I said, for the longest time, people have been asked to give of themselves, give of their money, give of their family, but no one's giving them anything in return, telling them how to basically take what they have, and because in order for you to have wealth, for instance, you have to have leverage. And the only way you can get leverage is to, be able to have more disposable income. You know, I mean, don't mean a lot of people try to come out there and say, oh, you know, you can get something for nothing. Doesn't happen. Something for nothing doesn't happen.
That's a lot. Majority of the time.
So, you know, so that's what we're talking about, and we're going to have different topics. So on Monday, I'm usually going to have a show. It's probably going to end up being at 6, unless we change it. I think some people want it at 11. But I was trying to do it at 8 o'clock before Monday Night Football, just so that because I know people's attention spans are going to be short, and so I was going to try to do that from 8 to maybe 8:45, right before kickoff.
So you on Eastern Standard Time. I'm on Central Time.
Yeah. I'm in the East Coast, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, you know, sure. You know, I love the BOI, and I love everything about the BAI. Oh, excuse me. You know, I'm on the social networks myself. So, you know, I'm just, you know, supporting it. You know, trying to, you know, spread the idea here a little bit, slowly but surely. But you know, in the due time.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, on Thursday I'll be with Earl, and then I'll be on the air again on my show on Monday, and we'll keep it rocking. All right.
All right then.
All right. You have a good night.
All right. Peace, man.